In this video, we're going to look at completing the square. So they will tell you in the exam to write your answer in a certain format, in the form of x plus p all squared plus q. They could say it in the form factorized in the form of x plus p all squared plus q, or they could say write in the form x plus p all squared plus q. It will be written in something in that manner. So let's have a look at this question. So when we complete the square, we open a bracket, write x inside it, and whatever the value is in front of x, we're going to half. So we half 8, gives me 4. Close the bracket, write squared, then you write a minus sign, then you write another bracket and you write 4 squared inside it. But we also have a plus 1, so we need to add plus 1 to that, and that's going to give me x plus 4 squared minus 16 plus the 1, and that's going to give me x plus 4 squared minus 16 plus 1 is minus 15, and then we have completed the square. Now, a lot of the time in exam questions, they'll ask you to determine the turning point, or otherwise known as the minimum point of the curve. Now, this topic comes from transformations of graphs. So we draw in the x squared graph. So just quick sketch. That's going to be x squared. Now, in transformations of graphs, when we do a transformation, we do the opposite of what's inside the bracket. So in our case, we've got plus 4. So the opposite of plus 4 is going to be minus 4. So we do a translation along the x-axis, and we call that it hits at minus 4. So then we call this x plus 4 squared. Then what we want to do is we want to bring the graph down, and we're going to just do a shift of minus 15 along the y-axis. It means we're going to just move it down by minus 15. So this point here is known as the turning point, or the minimum point. So it has an x coordinate of minus 4, and it has a y coordinate of minus 15. Here's a question for you to try. When you're done, pause the video and I will go through it with you. Okay, welcome back. So we've got the bracket. We half the 4, which is 2, x plus 2 squared, minus open another bracket, so it's 2 squared. And then don't forget we need to add on the 3, so it's plus 3. So that's going to give me x plus 2 squared minus 4 plus 3, and that's going to give me x plus 2 squared minus 4 plus 3 is minus 1. So we've completed the square there. Now when we draw our graph for the turning point, we're going to start off with the quadratic curve y equals x squared. So that's the x squared graph. And don't forget, when we do this, the opposite of plus 2 is minus 2. So we move it along to minus 2 on the x-axis. And then we want to bring it down by minus 1. So that's minus 1 here. And then this will be the turning point, which is minus 2, comma, minus 1. The next question. So there are questions of this type where they say to you, solve the quadratic, and they say leave your answer in the third form. If they say a question like that, we have to complete the square. So what we're going to do is do the following. We'll complete the square. So we do x, we half the second value, which is minus 3 squared. Now we get a minus, and be careful here. Because it's a minus 3 in the bracket, we're going to put a minus 3 here. So it's minus 3 squared. Then we've got a plus 7, so we're going to add plus 7 here. Now that equals to 0. So we're going to get x minus 3 squared minus Now be careful, minus 3 squared is positive 9, but because I've got a minus on the outside, the minus still remains. Then we've got a plus 7, and that equals to 0. Then we get x minus 3 squared minus 9 plus 7 is minus 2. That equals to 0. Then we can solve for that and say x minus 3 squared is equal to 2. Don't forget, when you take the square root of any number, you're always going to get plus or minus. So we get x minus 3 is plus or minus the square root of 2. And then we're going to take minus 3 on the other side. So basically what I'm doing is I'm adding 3 on this side and I'm adding 3 on this side. So x would be 3 plus or minus the square root of 2. This is known as the third form. Now, because a quadratic equation has two solutions, we're going to write it as x equals 3 minus root 2 as my first solution, or x equals 3 plus root 2 as my second solution there. Here's a question for you to try. Pause the video, and when you're done, I will go through my work solution. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to go through this question. So we're going to say x minus 5 squared minus, don't forget to put minus 5 squared in brackets. Then we're going to do plus 5 equals 0. Then we're going to say x minus 5 squared minus 25. Don't forget the minus sign is retained because of minus on the outside. Plus 5 equals 0. Then we're going to say that x minus 5 squared. Now be careful here. Minus 25 plus 5 is minus 20. That equals 0. Then we're going to say x minus 5 squared equals the positive 20. And when you take the square roots, you must always have a plus or a minus. And it's the square root of 20. Taking minus 5 on the other side, we get plus 5. So that will end up with 5 plus or minus the square root of 20. And they want it in third form, so the first solution is going to be 5 minus root 20, it's my first solution, or x equals 5 plus the square root of 20. And that's it, we are done.